Okay, here we go. And welcome to the Lawrence Sit Down Comedy Program. It used to be a stand up comedy program, but I'm getting too old for that. You know, I was visiting my daughter Stephanie in Texas with her family, and she asked me a question. She says, Dad, do you wear a hearing aid? I said, What? And she said, Do you wear a hearing aid? I says, Well, yes, I do. She said, Oh, great. What kind is it? And I said, It's 10 after 7. You know, when I was a little kid, I asked my mom, Why does Grandma keep reading the scriptures? She said, She's cramming for finals. But when it's time for me to go, I plan to go peacefully in my sleep, just like Grandpa, and not screaming like his passengers. Actually, this is my trombone year. And at the end of the year, I'll get a big parade. If you're old enough, you'll figure out how old I am. You know, a few weeks ago, I was talking with a bunch of friends, and one of our friends said, I can hardly wait until tomorrow. And we asked him, Well, why is that? He said, Because I get better looking every day. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, Given how old you are, what did you look like when you started out? As for me, I consider myself to be a patriotic American. I love the red, white, and blue, except when they're flashing behind me. And I've just gone along with life a little bit, you know, sometimes a little of this, sometimes a little of that. I tried to daydream the other day, but my mind kept wandering. I thought for a while I was indecisive, but now I'm not so sure. I visited a doctor a couple of weeks ago, and he said, You need an operation. And I said, Well, I want a second opinion. And he said, Okay, you're ugly too. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm schizophrenic, and so am I. You know, about marriage, have you noticed that the person who snores the loudest is always the first one to go to sleep? I told my granddaughter a little bit ago, I said, You're painting your eyebrows too high on your forehead. And she said, looked surprised, didn't say anything. Figured out a little bit ago why we give children middle names. It's so that they know when they're really in trouble. And my wife asked me the other day, says, Why don't you keep yourself in better shape? I says, What do you mean? I exercise religiously. And she says, Yeah, Christmas and Easter. And through life, you know, you have a few questions about this and that. For example, I have a question about Cinderella. If Cinderella's slipper fit so perfectly, why did it fall off? And if we're not supposed to eat at night, why is there a light in the fridge? Why is there an expiration date on sour cream? What do you plant if you want to eat seedless watermelon? And what would there be if there were no hypothetical questions? And why didn't Noah take advantage of the moment and squash those 2 mosquitoes when he had the chance? You know, our bishop had his office painted a couple of weeks ago, and painters botched it, put too much thinner in the paint. So he told them what all good bishops would tell people: repaint and thin no more. I saw a sign the other day. It said, watch for children. And I thought, now, that sounds like a fair trade. In the airport, there was a sign that said, tourist information. So I went up and said, Okay, tell me about the people who came here last year. Walked into a store, and one of the signs said, pet supplies. So I did. You know, I spilled some spot remover on my dog. Now he's gone. And there's an old saying there that the early bird catches the worm. Well, the second mouse gets the cheese. Hickory dickory dock, 3 mice ran up the clock. The clock struck 1, and the other 2 escaped with minor injuries. My philosophy, let the chickens cross the road. I won't question their motives. Did you hear about the man in the Soviet Union who called up the secret police and he said, my parrot just flew out the window, and I want you guys to know, in case you catch it, that I do not share its views. And as the duck said to the chapstick salesman, put it on my bill.